Women at the Table is a feminist systems change think tank. And we work at the intersection of a lot of sectors that have been traditionally male dominated, and we try and see ways to make things a bit more equal and a bit more powerful for all concerned so that everybody can thrive. And most of our work these days is based on AI and equality.
And how do you do this? How do we succeed in making it more available for everyone?
Well, I think a human rights-based approach is the right point of departure because it's agreed upon law. We all understand what that is, although I think we do need to be reminded about economic, social, and cultural rights. And to have technologists start to think about, in partnership with social scientists, so anthropologists, economists, community workers, to think about what their technology actually is going to accomplish, what the objectives are, often looking at human rights to see not only does it comply, which is kind of the bottom line, but also actually how can it enhance, how can it help the human condition? And then we go from there with team composition to see how multidimensional. So that's not only a question of more women added to more men, but also more ethnicities, more disciplines. Again, these anthropologists and these social workers with people who have lived experience so that we're actually inventing tech that people are going to use instead of just having them be consumers of the technology, to have them be the developers, the co-creators, and maybe even the owners of the tech.
Yeah, so in Sweden, there's a lot of surveys talking about inclusion, of course, and there are surveys showing that diversity leads to better results and more women in the board groups also has positive effects. But still, it's going a little slow. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's cultural change. So social norms take a while. And I think that the people who hold the power at the moment need to see the benefit to them. I mean, an example, bizarrely, that we use a lot is Sweden in terms of the change that you made in terms of parental leave. Once you have a generation of guys seeing how great it is to be able to be with their kids and have that relationship, then it sort of becomes a right that nobody wants to have taken away. So I think it's about creating environments where the interaction between this great diversity of humanity is able to take place. People see it's fun. It's also makes for more robust, more resilient products, and it also obviously helps the bottom line.
What would be your advice to organizations that feel like they want to do this shift, but maybe aren't really moving in that direction?
You know, kind of traditionally, a little bit of the 80s way of looking at it, the lean-in way of looking at it is that women and all people have been left out of these, basically the data sets and the algorithmic modeling, which is everybody, basically, except for a very small subset of people, had to just sort of find a way to fit themselves into the sort of the square pegs in the box. And I think that, visionary companies who want to make diverse products that will help their bottom line, and also just help achieve a lot of more goodness for society, are going to go out and they're going to find people that need to be brought into the company. And again, we've been just saying that it's this multidisciplinarity, this multi-experiential diversity that you want. The classic example is the Apple Watch. So Apple made the watch, and it wasn't for quite some time before they figured out that just measuring magnesium and heart rate was not the whole health picture, and that perhaps if they measured menstrual cycles, oh my God, that it would have an even greater utility. So we assumed from that maybe there weren't very many women in the room with them when they were designing the product, or maybe there were women, but they were not feeling enabled to speak up and say, this is something that's missing. So I think a company that wants to start with this is going to create an environment where there is this kind of larger subset of humanity and enable people to ask questions. Yeah.
You mentioned AI before. Looking a couple of years ahead, where do you hope that we're going to be in terms of AI and inclusion?
I think that I'm hoping that regulations in particular are going to be focused on impact, and that we focus primarily on impact and not process, because I think the processes are going to change and people will find loopholes. I'm also hoping that we'll have more community engagement so that communities are empowered to build the products that they need to solve their problems. And along the way, we're going to know people won't really need to code in the same way that it's also been a very sort of closed structure. So you're going to be able to have these people with really great ideas be able to enact them, whereas 5 years ago, 1 year ago even, they would have had to be engineers to do that. So it's an exciting time as long as everybody piles in, as long as everybody feels that they have something to contribute and those contributions are applauded, then I think that we might be in good shape.